Let's get started. Let's jump right into the discussion, the introduction of hedonism. What does hedonism mean? Or rather, what does a hedonist claim in order for him or her to claim that he or she is a practicer of such a philosophical doctrine? The major doctrines, the major claims are listed as below. For example, take a look. Pleasure is the only prudential value, the only thing with the prudential value. And on the contrary, pain is the only thing with the prudential disvalue. Keep in mind, when we talk about philosophy, when we discuss philosophy, we tend to use fancy terms. The terminology here is quite unfamiliar to us, right? What does prudential mean? Prudential value or prudential disvalue? We never heard of it, but we are going to use such terms very often, repeatedly. So keep this in mind. Write this down in your notebook, and I will explain them now and then rather very frequently. Beside claiming pleasure is the only only thing with prudential value, and the pain is the only thing with a prudential disvalue, on top of that, we might as well say that, or the hedonists might as well say that, all and only pleasure is good for you, and all and only pain is bad for you. Well, this sounds rather very easy, right? This is another way to explain those prudential value and prudential disvalue. Something is good, something is bad. The hedonists make such claims that what is non-instrumental good for you and what is non-instrumentally bad for you. Such claims about instrumentally goodness and instrumental badness is also applied, is also utilized by hedonists. So here we have encountered at least 4 terms or terminology. Prudential value, the first one. The second one, prudential disvalue. The third one, instrumentally good. And the last one, non-instrumentally good. We might as well take a look at the definition of such terminology. For example, prudential value. What does prudential value mean? 这个是个术语啊，请记一下啊，请记一下。你要不想记的话就拍下来，好吧？ Is a philosophical term to describe how well life goes for the person who lives it. The focus, the key point is for the person who lives it. For the person who lives the life. What is good for a person, a particular person, a specific person. In other words, such goodness or badness is rather very subjective. What does subjective mean? Subjective. 主观，这个事儿非常的主观。It depends on the subject or depends on the specific particular person we are speaking who is experiencing life, who is living through happiness, well-being, or living rather a bad life, living through hardship and difficult times. It depends on the person, and the experience may differ from person to person. So keep in mind. The second item, prudential value, refers to things that are good for a person or those that enhance well-being and benefit that individual. The example is a hedonist may believe that pleasure is the only thing with non-instrumental prudential value. And on the other hand, since we already know what a prudential value is, so it's easy for us to explain, to define prudential disvalue. What does prudential disvalue mean? For example, pain is the most important example of prudential disvalue. What is good for a person is called prudential value. On the contrary, what is bad for the person is called the disvalue, prudential disvalue.